Actually, this song is about sour grapes. Well, I don't care if the sun don't shine, but it better our people to wonder. I couldn't care less if it never stopped raining, except the kids are afraid of the thunder. Say sour grapes, you can laugh and stare. Say sour grapes, well, I don't care. I don't care if I didn't have a friend, except people would say I was crazy, and I wouldn't work 'cause I don't need money. But the same folks that say I was lazy say sour grapes, you can laugh and stare. Say sour grapes, well, I don't care. Couldn't care less if she'd never come back. I was gonna leave her anyway. And all the good times that we shared don't mean a thing today. Say sour grapes, you can laugh and stare. Say sour grapes, well, I don't care. Guess my mind wandered a little bit at the end of that song, so I messed it up a little bit, but you get the point. Let me put this guitar up and we'll come back with a more serious message. Okay, Dr. William Painter here. I'm back wearing my Perea hat, which means community in Greek. Wearing my Mount Doom t-shirt. Come and explore scenic Mount Doom. Because I am a geek and I love Lord of the Rings. In fact, I love just about any movie where the good guys win. Today's passage comes from, it's the fifth Sunday of Easter, and our gospel comes from John chapter 15, verses 1 through 8. Now, this is the beginning of a sequence of metaphors or parables regarding Jesus' last stories. So we'll just get into the first one. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He removes every branch in me that bears no fruit. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes to make it bear more fruit. You have already been cleansed by the word I have spoken to you. Abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. Whoever does not abide in me is thrown away like a branch and withers. Such branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask for whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples. Thus endeth the gospel. These are Jesus' last words before he's taken off and crucified. And they're very important for us because there's some serious wordplay here. At least by the authors of the text. First of all, he says, I am. And he uses, I think it appears 7 times, possibly. And then he uses the term fruit, which I know appears 8 times. And he uses the phrase "abide in me," which means to live or reside or flourish. And this harkens back to, you remember the story about my Father has many mansions in which you may abide. This idea of living inside this warm and welcoming and loving environment and world that loves us right back allows us to bear fruit. Now, if you know anything about grapes, and I don't know much about grapes, I do know something about pruning, and that if you just let grapes go, vines go, you don't get any good grapes. You have to prune them, prune off the dead, and then when you prune them, they flourish and produce a lot of fruit. And for us, I think, we resent losses, we resent bad times, but these are really ways for us to learn to bear. These are necessary for us to bear fruit. How can you really comfort someone who has lost a spouse or lost a loved one if you've never experienced that? How can you help a poor person if you've never been poor? I read a story about a billionaire who was convinced that he was a billionaire by his own efforts, and so he became homeless. He was going to be homeless for a year, and first of all, he didn't make it. Second of all, he saw a doctor because he had a health condition. Now, I'll tell you this, no homeless person ever sees a doctor because they can't. And but he learned one thing, and the one thing that he learned was to be grateful for what he has and to be empathetic for those who don't have. Now, I want you to think about the season that just passed in Islam, Ramadan season. I don't know if you know much about it, but during Ramadan, you fast from sun up to sundown. And then when the sun sets, you can drink water. I don't think you can drink anything else, and you're not supposed to smoke cigarettes either. It's just water. And then in the evening, you break fast, and your family and your friends gather around and eat pistachios and figs and lovely little nutrient-rich foods and into the evening. And then you start all over again. And it lasts about 30 days, one lunar cycle. I think it's one lunar cycle. And I asked one of my colleagues about it because, in Christianity, we have Lent where we give up something. And he said, well, it's not like what you do. He says, when we do this, we do it so that, well, first of all, it's a testament of faith. But even more importantly than that, it is so that we can experience what it feels like to be hungry, so that we can feel so that we understand a person who is homeless or who is hungry or who is begging for food. We know what that feels like. We know what it means to be hungry. Now, my colleague is a devout Muslim, and so about 3/4 of the way through Ramadan, when we're having our meetings, and in my team we have Buddhists and Muslims and Coptic Christians and a Sikh, a Punjabi Sikh, and so we have a real good mix of various religions. And poor guy, I mean, he was grumpy. He was really grumpy. And so after the meeting, I said, "Are you okay? Is everything going all right? Is there something I can do for you?" I mean, I've known him for 20 years, and so it's not just I can see grumpy in his face. And he said, "No, I'm fine. I'm just it's just," and he's drinking water. He said, I'm okay. I'm really okay." So he went. We broke the meeting, and he went on, and I talked to my other friend, and I said, I think Sammy's I think he's hungry. And indeed he was hungry, and he was tired of being hungry. And at the end of Ramadan, they give gifts and they make donations to people who are homeless or hungry or poor. And when they do that, this is in relationship to us in this passage, they have been cleansed and they have been pruned, and now they can bear more fruit than they were able to bear before. Now, this goes quite against the whole gospel of wealth that we hear a lot about in the States, where if God loves you, you're going to get rich. Okay, well, that's simply nowhere in the Bible. Nowhere it does that exist. It's complete fabrication of the modern mind. I mean, God loved Job above all others, and look what happened to him. I always used to joke and say, I really don't want to get God's attention here, because look what happens to people when God pays attention to you. We get pruned. We get pruned back. We lose friends. We lose, those of us who have survived the pandemic know this. We know what it's like to see a friend fall over dead from a blood clot and to leave a wife and a child behind. We know what it means to lose a colleague. We know what it means to see neighborhoods blasted like a bomb blast and people went into the hospital and died, gasping for air. We know what that means. We were pruned in that regard. And now it is time for us to bear fruit. And now it is time for us to reach out with our goodness, with our hearts, with our empathy to others, and to abide in the great and endless love of our faith and of our God. Now, I've read this week about a governor of South Dakota who was bragging about the fact that she could make tough decisions and that she killed a dog, a 14-month-old dog, puppy really, basically a teenager, that was untrainable. Now, don't know if you've ever had a dog. I've had many dogs, and I'm convinced that for the most part, there are no bad dogs. They're just bad owners. And now there's some dogs, I think there's some dogs like the ones that look like a pit bull, and they will reach a certain age and something flips in their head and they can attack you. They can't help it. It's in their genes. But they're not a 14-month-old puppy either. And so for this woman to brag that she she shot this dog, and then she turned around and she shot this goat that annoyed her. Now, this goat was an uncastrated male goat, so she hadn't even taken care of it. Normal veterinary practices, unless you're planning on breeding that male goat, you castrate them because they are aggressive, they have musk smell, they're generally unpleasant creatures. She did none of that. Instead, she chose to kill it. She couldn't even kill it the first time with a shot. She had to go back, reload, and shoot it again. And she was proud of this. She was proud of that. That is not Christian. That is not abiding in the vine. And if you look at the history of people like her, who are careless and cruel to innocent lives, because that dog was an innocent life. That goat was an innocent life. She's bragging on the fact that she made the tough decision to kill an innocent creature, which basically she's saying, look, maybe it's an immigrant. Maybe it's a child we let starve to death. Maybe it's, we have to take these tough decisions and kill these innocents. That's not Christian. That is as far from Christianity as you can get. And if you look at the history of people like that, and you look at the history of movements like that, they bear no fruit. Hitler and Nazi Germany, every one of those Nazis that ran a concentration camp, those prison guards who stripped those people naked, who pulled the gold teeth out of people to collect the gold, who showered them and murdered them in gas chambers and burned their bodies, went home at night and had dinner with their family. They went to church on Sunday. They were just like you and I. And what happened to them was that their country was gutted. And they, as a country, as a nation, as a people, as a culture, are forever ashamed of what they did. And now they can bear fruit. So I say these things to you not as a political motivation or anything else, but any fascist, authoritarian government or movement always always ends up badly. The Confederacy of the South were slave owners that condoned the raping of children and women because they were owned, because they were slaves, the beating of slaves. What happened to them? They lost everything. They lost everything. They always lose everything because they require cleansing and then require pruning, and God is there to do it. Okay. The song I sang, Sour Grapes, that's by John Prine. And I thought it was appropriate because, well, we're talking about vines and grapes. And there's something about, there's a sense of loss in there. And he's mad and he's hurt. I don't care if the sun don't shine, but it better, or people will wonder. And I don't care if she never comes back, because I was going to leave her anyway. That's sour grapes. That's not recognizing the fact that the pruning will produce fruit. And in fact, he produced this song, which is a nice, lovely little piece of fruit. God bless. Have a great week. I think the next time we speak, I will be coming to you from Thailand. So I'm not sure I can sing a song, so you can feel, mark yourself safe from William Songs. And I'll see you in 3 weeks. Cheers and God bless.